Thank you guys so much for attending this. We are on our third day. It's today is the anniversary of me walking off the factory lot where I worked an afternoon shift as a single mom and quitting my job to be home full time. And that was 10 years ago. So this is the celebration of that, but also absolutely a celebration of the laptop lifestyle. And I've invited so many people that I'm just so happy to be chatting with who are living this lifestyle, creating, whatever it is they desire for themselves in their life and in their business. And today, this session is no exception. And I have Sarah. And Sarah, I totally forgot to ask you how to pronounce your last name. And I did that with another speaker as well. But how do we say your last name?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Santacroce. I always say Santa, like Santa Claus, and Croce, like Jim Croce. So Santacroce.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to interview you.
I'm very happy to be here too, Angela. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, so I want to invite you guys to share this video, or you can share this event. You can post about it in whatever way you want to, but just make sure you use the hashtag laptop lifer, and that will allow me, and use it on Facebook, that will allow me to see your posts. And I am picking a person from Monday who's done this already, and a person from today, so 2 people total, to get 3 months free at the Laptop Lifestyle Business Club, which is my membership club. So that's my gift to you guys for helping to share this event. And I would really, really appreciate it if you guys go ahead and do that. So I want to, again, Sarah, say thank you so much for being here, and also invite you to just introduce yourself, share your website, and let people know, who you are and what you do in your business.
Okay, thanks. So I have a business called Simplicity Simple LinkedIn Solutions. The web address is simplicitysmallbiz.com. And where do I start? I think I would probably start around the time where you quit your job, because that's when I about started to have my first business online as well. And we have another thing in common, Angela. You know that we both started off as virtual assistants back in the days. I was based in California at the time, where my husband got a job transfer, because I'm originally Swiss, born and raised in Switzerland, and that's where I'm now. So we're actually doing this call over the ocean. And well, I started as a virtual assistant, and then I realized, and that was during the big social media boom, and I realized how I can create buzz and do all this promotion for my own business. I'm like, well, if I can do that, I can help other people do that as well. And so I slowly, or pretty actually not so slowly, quite fast, transitioned into social media. And when I came back to Switzerland in 2010, I kind of was in shock, because Switzerland was still like back in ice age in terms of social media. Nobody, people were a bit on Facebook, but that was about it. More for personal life, not really for business. And so I'm like, what am I doing now? So I really had to kind of pivot my business and go more into training rather than offering services. And that's also where the whole LinkedIn started. So I realized that over here in Europe, or specifically Switzerland, people were really interested in LinkedIn as a business platform. And so that's what I did. I started to specialize in LinkedIn, and that's what I do today. So I have a bit of both. I have kind of the laptop lifestyle where I do coaching with entrepreneurs, and that's my favorite part. And then I have, courses, products that I sell on my website to help people optimize their LinkedIn profile, so it is a client magnet and not just an online CV. And then the other part, I do trainings in companies. So that's kind of like the traditional, business model where you go and you train and you get paid for that. Obviously, ideally, I would just stay at home. And Angela, that I'm an introvert. So these trainings are just, really exhausting, actually. But I do like the interaction, but after one day. I can't do more than 1 day per week, basically. So
you have the freedom to choose that, right? Like,
yeah,
you
exactly.
You set your own rules, and that's why I always say, like, any of the people in my group people who've joined the club or whatever, as long as, I think it's a laptop lifestyle, as long as you're in control of what you're choosing to do, like, even like there's a lot of virtual assistants who they still would say they have a laptop lifestyle, even though they've got like a good number of clients, but they're choosing who they're working with, when they're working, where they're working, and how they're working, and all that. So still definitely in control of all that, which is so awesome that we get those options as entrepreneurs.
Indeed.
Yeah, so that is your topic for today too. Of course, we are talking about getting clients on LinkedIn, and I have to admit that I have paid very, very little attention to LinkedIn myself, but I have definitely seen people, writing about it or making comments about it, and the benefits are clear to me. I just haven't put the effort in there, and I'm definitely very interested in learning more about LinkedIn, and I'm really excited to be talking to you about it today. Another part of my confession here is there's been times when someone's messaged me and it's taken me like 6 months to respond. So I've gotten better than that, but I definitely want to be like much, much better at LinkedIn. So we have a few things that you mentioned you wanted to talk about today. So to get started, let's talk about why you absolutely need to use LinkedIn to get clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I want to start off. I'm a very pragmatic person, so I'm going to say the things, exactly how they are. And I'm not going to pretend that everybody should be on LinkedIn. We know that LinkedIn is a business audience. People are there in a business mindset. So first of all, think about your audience. And then one of the reasons why you should be on LinkedIn is because people are in a business mindset. But of course, if your audience are, kind of stay-at-home moms, then obviously don't go to LinkedIn. There's no point in being on LinkedIn. If also you know that your audience is mainly on Facebook, well, then maybe you don't need to be on LinkedIn. But I give you an example, since we talked about virtual assistants. I work a lot with virtual assistants, and I know that a lot of them spend too much time on Facebook and not enough time on LinkedIn. And again, it's because of that business mindset, because their clients, they're busy professionals, right? They want to outsource their admin stuff to a virtual assistant because they're too busy. So they don't have time to, spend too much time on Facebook. So they have a profile on LinkedIn, and that's where they can be reached. So think about your audience and think about, would they be on LinkedIn? Would I find them on LinkedIn? And so it's definitely the case for virtual assistants. It's definitely the case for any kind of coach. So if you're a coach, your clients are basically either other business owners or they are, decision makers in bigger companies, or they're other coaches. There's a lot of coaches now who coach other coaches. Well, these people are most likely to be found on LinkedIn. So think about your target audience first. And then when yes, my target audience is on LinkedIn, people are really in a business mindset. So that helps in terms of getting paid better, because people are in a business mindset, so they're ready to take out their wallet, right? So if you want to raise your fees and you have higher fees than maybe the average, LinkedIn is your audience. That's one of the things why you should be on LinkedIn. The other thing is that there has been research done that the traffic that comes from LinkedIn, so anything that you share on LinkedIn, is there's a much higher conversion rate than when the traffic comes from Twitter or Facebook, for example. Again, because what you're sharing has to do with business, and so people on LinkedIn are in this business mindset. So if you give them something that has to do with business, they're already in that mindset, where sometimes in Facebook, we're just, I try to, like, don't always succeed, but I try to only check my Facebook when I'm like, sitting on the couch or spending time outside or something like that, because I'm in a leisure mindset. Where on LinkedIn, people, they are expecting business solutions. So that's kind of what the reasons why you should be on LinkedIn if your target audience is on LinkedIn too.
So just to ask the question kind of for my own benefit, but I think it will be beneficial to everybody listening. The people that are on LinkedIn would be business owners, as well as, people in more professional careers as well. Is that right? Like,
right.
There's a variety of potential markets, right?
Yeah. Pretty much you have, obviously you have the people who are unemployed and are searching for a job. That's what LinkedIn initially in 2003 was meant for. But since then, things have evolved a lot. LinkedIn's main objective is actually to become the #1 resource for professional content.
Okay.
So that's their vision or their mission. So think about that, and then you realize, okay, anybody who somehow wants to digest or kind of get that content wants to be on LinkedIn. So yes, business owners, but also I call them decision makers, or just anybody who's in the corporate world, of course, as well. But we really do see a lot of, solopreneurs, consultants, coaches, business coaches. All of these kind of people are to be found on LinkedIn too.
Yeah, so I was just listening, from the perspective of my business, and, would it be, because you said, not everybody would be a good fit. And then you mentioned work-at-home moms, which, in part are definitely going to be part of my market, because, I'm a work-at-home mom now, again, with another small child. So I definitely relate, and they relate to me, other people with small children. But that's not the extreme of my market. So as you were speaking, I was just really seeing is it a good fit for me? But I think also it definitely is, because, that's not the only people I reach. That's not the only people who would want a laptop lifestyle. So certainly solopreneurs, coaches, a lot of people with small businesses, even offline businesses that are, they're obviously professionals who are also wanting to market online and create more freedom through that online marketing method. Those are definitely people who I believe I could reach more effectively on LinkedIn. So
totally agree. Yes, the moms, you won't get them on LinkedIn, but anybody who already has a business or who's trying to, get a business off the ground, they'll be on LinkedIn. They won't be active. A lot of them are going to be like you, but at least you can find them there.
Yeah, and I certainly have. I've certainly connected with a lot of them in terms of the friend connection, not made a lot of, as I said, I don't spend a lot of time on there, but we all have accounts on there. So I think it's important to be visible and, to be aware of it. So that's really good advice, because, people do want to decide, is it worth my time to be on there? And that's definitely going to help them make that decision. So another point you said you wanted to share today as well is how to get clients without being overly aggressive or pushy, which is absolutely what, I'm sure most of us want to know. We don't want to be either of those.
Right. Well, I think we all kind of already know the answer. It's a lot about inbound marketing. So sharing valuable content with, usually it's with your list. On Facebook, it's with your followers. Well, on LinkedIn, it's also with your network. So that's a thing that a lot of people haven't understood yet, that on LinkedIn, it's the same thing like on any other platform. There's the how do you call it, the wall on your homepage. It's just like on Facebook. I go there every day and see what are my connections sharing, and then obviously I want to be visible on their homepage. So the main way to get clients on LinkedIn is to, first of all, work on your profile, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But then once you've done that work, you need to become more active, and you do that by sharing regular content. And I think it's quite easy to do nowadays because we all use some kind of scheduling system, Hootsuite or CoSchedule or Post Planner or something like that. And you can decide, what content should also go to my network on LinkedIn. Obviously, if it's about something that only would concern moms, then you wouldn't share it on LinkedIn. But I've seen your posts on LinkedIn, and so by being regularly present there, then that's how you grow that following as well. And people come over to your newsletter, they sign up, and then they come to your Facebook Lives. So it's mainly based on inbound. At least that's how I teach my clients. Of course, there's kind of more aggressive ways you can do that on LinkedIn as well, where you kind of go into the whole social selling system. So you proactively search for prospects or leads on LinkedIn, start to add them to your network so that you get the right people to see your updates, right? Because a lot of times, maybe we've created this LinkedIn profile when we were still in corporate jobs. And so you're like, well, what's the point? Why would my ex-colleagues be interested in what I'm doing now, right? So what you need to do is really kind of start this network that makes sense. And an easy way to do that is look at LinkedIn groups. So for example, for virtual assistants, think about your ideal client. What kind of groups would he be in? And that's the groups you join, and then you start kind of inviting these people, saying, hey, I've seen we're part of the same group. Would you be open to connect with me? And you don't go and pushy and say, hey, do you need a virtual assistant? But by being more present in their newsfeed, well, slowly they start to understand, oh, okay, she's a VA. Maybe, when I have a need, I can reach out to her. So it's all about having the right contacts in your network as well.
So it's definitely a really good place for VAs to be doing all of these things that you're mentioning, right?
Right.
And we do have a lot of VAs who are, in the group and who are in, on my list and stuff like that. So I think that they'll get a lot of value out of that. But also, as you said, there's plenty of other markets as well. I think that applies to, it's great advice for LinkedIn as well. It's like I can just think of that as how my Facebook main person profile is set up, and I don't post a lot of business stuff on there because I haven't used it as like an active way to build business. So you definitely want to be very proactive in building like a community around your page. Makes perfect sense. Yeah. So you said you wanted to talk about the LinkedIn profile, which sometimes, like, I've gone in a little bit, right? And you said you saw my Hootsuite or my posts come up, and a lot of them, they came either from Hootsuite, I think, or like my blog posts get automatically posted into there. But I've been a little bit or a lot lax on updating my profile. So I definitely am interested to hearing the number one mistake most people make with their LinkedIn profile and what we should do instead.
Yeah. So the number one mistake all entrepreneurs make with their LinkedIn profile is that it sounds like a resume or a CV. So it feels like you're still looking for a job. You're talking to me as if I was a recruiter, but I'm not a recruiter. I'm your ideal client. And so your LinkedIn profile should sound like a sales tool. It should sound like your about page on your website. It should tell me, how you can help me. It should be written in, mostly about the present. Because if you think about a resume or a CV, well, you're going to talk about the past, right? You're going to start with, I went to this and this school, and then I did this and this. And I'm like, I'm not interested in that. I don't care what you did 10 years ago. What I do care is, what do you do today and how you can help me? And so that's the biggest mistake that all entrepreneurs make, is that they still consider their LinkedIn profile as this online CV, but they're not looking for a job. You haven't been looking for a job for 10 years. So it's really time to use it as a sales tool. And I call it a client magnet, because a lot of times people search for you on Google, and one of the first links that comes up is the LinkedIn profile. And it's just a trusted source of information. And so you'd be surprised how many people actually check you out. So even if you don't plan to be more active on LinkedIn, right? It's still a good idea to have an updated LinkedIn profile, because if I go and, consider working with a business coach, right? Even if I met her or him through Facebook, I'm going to look him up on LinkedIn and it says like he's a professional cook or something, because that's what he did in the past. Well, I'm going to be like, what? And so this really happens. People have these outdated LinkedIn profiles where they still feature their corporate life, where now they have, a business. So it really needs to talk about the present. It needs to use your keywords. So for example, if I would just have a title, my headline of my LinkedIn profile, if it would just say Director of Simplicity, people would have no clue what I do. But I want to be found because LinkedIn is also a big search engine. People go in there to look for service providers, especially VAs. Well, yes, they might be looking for a virtual assistant, but they might also be looking for, specific, like, help with accounting or things like that. So you need to use your keywords in the headline, but also further throughout the profile so that you actually show up for search results.
I had that happen to me actually. Well, when I was invited to do a telesummit, and luckily I'd asked the lady, because we did like a pre-interview, I asked her, kind of how she got into it, or, what it was her background a little bit. And she told me she was a doctor and she was wanting to just get started and work online and, kind of grow her business. So she was starting off with the telesummit. And so she didn't have a website or anything. When I Googled her, it said, just it showed her doctor profile. And I would have been very confused because it did look like her. I'd been invited to a marketing telesummit and all I found on her was that she's a doctor. So I'm glad that I had asked her. I'd been like, what's happening here? I mean, not that it seemed fishy or anything. It didn't match,
luckily
right?
She was a doctor and not, not some kind of other kind of weird profession. You would have been like, what?
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's definitely something that happened, and she came up as a result of me just trying to find out more information about, who I would have been interviewed by. So a prime example. So when you're talking about, all the different parts, like your history and things like that, when I went into LinkedIn, it kind of guides you through. You can customize all that. Is that how people are, making it more like how they serve people? Is that where that part comes in?
Yeah, the part where you describe who you work with and who you are and who you work with is in the summary. So that's the section at the top. That's where you get 2,000 characters to really describe, what you do, who you help, and how you help them. So it's the summary section.
Okay.
You want to add all that.
Mm-hmm. You want to make sure you get the details in there. So we really covered all of the different points that you said we were going to talk about today. Was there anything else you wanted to add or share? You can.
Yeah, maybe one more thing. If you're not planning to actually use LinkedIn regularly, as I said, just optimize your profile and make sure that you have links there that lead back to your website. Because when people look you up on LinkedIn, they don't necessarily want to connect with you on LinkedIn, but they're just there to find out more. And so pretty much every profile that I look at, that's always missing. So there's no link to the website. And then you're like, well, and then you're back to Google. So make it easy basically to have them come over to your site. That's another objective of your LinkedIn profile, is to just have that profile there and then get people over to your website. I sometimes call it a mini website that leads traffic to your maxi website. So that's an important one. And then the other thing, maybe that's a bit different from other social platforms, is when you invite people to connect with you, LinkedIn gives you the option to add a customized note. I would always recommend that you use that customized note where you say, I found you on this in this group, or, people want to connect with me now after watching this Facebook Live, they would say, oh, I've seen your Facebook Live. And so because it's a professional platform, it's just etiquette to kind of introduce yourself, where on Facebook you don't have to do that as much, or Twitter you don't do it at all. But try to do that, and you'll see that there's going to be much deeper relationships, because you start out differently than just saying, hey, I want to add you to my network.
Right. Yeah, you're building that relationship. So
Right.
Those are great tips. Absolutely. And I think we have one more thing to mention, which is you have a gift for everybody. But except after you share about what your gift is, I do have a surprise question for you. I've been asking everybody. And I like to see everybody's reaction. Some people are a little afraid. And some people are like, yay, surprise. But no, it's totally an easy question. But
okay.
But
I'm okay. Okay, so I want to share about the freebie that I have. So it's called The Recipe for LinkedIn Success. And I'm really proud, and that really fits here, because my son actually created the visual on the front page. So talking about laptop lifestyle, you have a teenager as well, right, Angela?
Yeah,
so
I do.
You get to use your kids to create Canva pictures. So yeah, it's just I call it a 10 ingredient recipe for LinkedIn success, that kind of takes you through the different steps that you need to consider if you want to use LinkedIn on a regular basis. So we've already covered the first step, which is, you need to really think about, well, is it worth spending the time on LinkedIn? Do you have your audience on LinkedIn or not? And then it just takes you through the other 9 steps. So that's what I share there.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. And I will be adding the link at the top of this video. So it'll be up there, and then there's a document in the group that everybody can grab all of the speakers' gifts from. So really appreciate that. That's cool that your son did that. My son has just finally showed some interest in actually learning some of this stuff. And so he's starting to work for me. But
cool.
it's really neat that your son did that as well. So your surprise question is quite simply, why do you love the laptop lifestyle?
Thought it was going to be something like that. Why? I'll tell you why. Right now, I can't wait to take the whole summer off. I decided to take off 2 months, and I'll still email my list, of course, but I'm not doing any of the trainings. I'm just doing email coaching with my VIP clients, and I'm going to see you in Toronto when I come over, and we'll be 2 weeks in Sicily where we have a place. So that's what I love about my laptop lifestyle. And I know you understand.
I do. I've said it almost every session, I just love hearing everybody's answer. I mean, it's just a different version of everybody who loves freedom, and we all love to have freedom of choice of what to do. And so it's really cool to hear your answer. And it's been so great to have you on this session today. I want to say thank you so much for being here. And we did have some people in the group. We had a couple of comments from Tammy, who was talking about LinkedIn. And so I want to say thank you to everybody who was there. Thank you to you as well. And we're just about ready to wrap up.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Thanks, Angela.
Thank you. Okay, we will have another session soon in half an hour. We're right on the dot for this one, but thanks again, Sarah.
Swiss timing, wow.
Thanks, everybody.